First of all, I want to start with this quote from Mahatma Gandhi. Really, it's really powerful because it has all the essence of what it means to be a change agent or a true leader. Like you must be the change you want to see it in the world. You know, so the change starts with you. So you have to transform yourself to be the leader that you want if you want this change to happen also within your teams and your company. And also there is another quote about agile leaders actually. So as it says, like agile project leaders help their team balance at the edge of chaos. You know, some structure, but not too much. Adequate documentation, but not too much. You know, some upfront architecture work, but again, not too much. And finding this balance points is the art of agile leadership. This is by Jim Highsmith. And truly balancing is everything for an agile leader, considering that we are living in in an uncertain, volatile world. For example, like in VUCA world, like volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. And in that kind of situation, all we need, like the basics that we need is like balancing our decisions, our attitudes, behaviors, initiatives, etc. So what is agile leadership? Let's just start from there. We will go through what is agile leadership, how to form an agile leadership team. And also we are going to talk about leadership, agility, and to find like the differences and to understand the differences between those two. So let's start with an agile adoption, how this usually happens within companies. So sometimes it's like a top-down decision, like the management, like they did their research, they consulted with experts and they decided that, they need to be really fast and to need to be able to drive real value to their customers. So Agile would help them to do that. So what is happening if there is no true Agile mindset? Of course, what is happening is that management says, okay, we are starting our Agile transformation. And so do whatever is needed, like the middle management, the teams, and then report back to me, like what's the process of this transformation. And usually, as you can imagine, like the reaction coming from the team is like, okay, this is another process change. Why do we need it at all? Like, what's wrong with what we are doing right now? So a lot of these kind of questions might raise up and a lot of resistance might happen. And also the other like important question is, okay, where do we start from? How do we do that? Okay, we have this, like request coming from the top, but we do not know what to do next. The other case is, let's say if the request is coming from bottom up. I've seen this as well when, the teams that are creating, for example, a product, and they are trying to find some new solutions. And some of the members, might do some research and see that, for example, Scrum or Agile, other practices, are really useful. And even they might find that they are already doing some of these practices without knowing that they are doing those, some of their elements, which is also okay. So they just start with an initiative. And then what is happening is that the management actually, they did not make this decision. So even if they say, okay, be innovative and creative, come up with us with your solutions, what is happening is that they are not understanding perfectly what's going on and why do we do these changes and what are actually the benefits for the company. So there are really a lot of cases where, the management is not convinced. So they are still, accepting this as a team initiative, but acting themselves as managers as they used to do. Everything they do is the same. So how people feel about change. Usually, okay, we we are kind of we might like the change, because we understand that this is for improvement, etc. But we might also resist it because we have a lot of elements that are kind of hidden, but they are uh, they are affecting our consciousness, and we just do not want to lose some of the elements that we are used to. We might have questions about certainty, about our status, about relatedness, etc., etc. And even if, let's say, everybody wants to change because everybody observes and understands that there are obvious problems within the company, if the question is like, who wants to change, then, we might say, who wants to change? Who wants to change? Then everyone might say, we want to change. But if the question is like, who wants to change? Then, nobody wants to do that. So everybody might point out, okay, this person needs to change because he's doing a bad job, or that person needs to change because he's a very tough manager and he's pushing us. And this person needs to change because he's lacking expertise or whatever. So we never say that, it is us that need to change first. And first of all, before, the other changes happen. So starting the journey alone, this is another case. Let's say we have an Agile enthusiast, a Scrum Master, a project manager who wants to be a Scrum Master, somebody who wants to be a Scrum Master, or maybe even an Agile coach that is brought to the company, like external person, or a new hire within the company. So someone who is the Agile practitioner, enthusiast, whatever. Then what's happening is like, okay, I have to start this Agile journey within the company, but let's say nobody is supporting this person. They say, okay, just do whatever it takes, go and do that, and this is your job. So the questions might arise as like, how do I do that alone? This will take a century, to transform the whole company alone and to be involved in each and every decision-making process. And of course, as the statistics show, like the failure rate for this kind of, initiatives is really high when you do everything alone. And of course, like people with agile mindsets, they really understand that strong teams create more value than, dominant individuals. And that is why they are constantly looking for like-minded people to surround themselves, so that they take the ownership and so that they make collaborative decisions and come up with the best solutions for this particular context or scenario. So let's forget about like leadership, just examine how agile teams work. So usually, okay, we have, if we take, let's say, a Scrum team, okay, like we have the role division, right? We have this cycle like of iterations where we are, creating something, then, analyzing it based on empiricism, like data, then we are learning and then building against something, etc. And there we have this strong collaboration between the market and the developers and the team, the Scrum team. And here are some elements that are really like are aligning with this kind of teams. So they are product centric, they have active collaboration, they are cross-functional. There is an alignment using backlogs like with product goal and sprint backlog with sprint goal. And then they do these daily things. They are inspecting, their everyday work and actions, and they are self-managing, and they work within the iterations, and they might pair up, to deliver. So please review my code, or please review my work, so that I make sure that I have not missed anything. Experimenting, constantly experimenting, and getting learning out of this experiment, and continually reflecting on the team itself, on the processes that the team is using, on the product that the team is creating, and constantly observing. And so if that's the Agile team or the Scrum team, then why can't the leaders act the same way? Actually, they should, and they can do that. There is only one difference. If the Agile teams, they are there to create profitable, innovative solutions to problems that they are addressing, then Agile leaders actually build and operate on a higher level, like Agile system, like thinking from like system thinking, from higher level thinking. And actually, if we take that into account, then Agile leadership is about like building a high performance team or organization that applies the principles, the frameworks, everything, and people development activities to increase competitiveness, in the market. So in any case, they have to create this environment where the value can be created and brought to the customers. Okay, and let's see what is the focus of Agile leaders. Okay, actually there are three main things that Agile leaders are focusing. They create and nurture a culture in which like experimenting, learning, everything is embraced, is welcomed, they collaborate with employees to find, common values to create a greater goal for the company and the teams. And then the third one is they create an organizational structure that reinforces and rewards the other two dimensions. So these three things are really important for Agile leaders. Okay, let's see if we understood like how the Agile team works, like how the Agile leaders operate. Let's say we have a situation where the management is actually becoming the Agile leadership team, because like usually we can see this. Usually, I have seen this in many scenarios that people from like executive C-level are actually stepping into Agile leadership team to make this impact bigger and to drive a bigger change. But also there might be people from middle management because they would be also working with teams, so it's kind of also so that they can guide and mentor their teams on this Agile path. And there is also another version where anyone can actually become an Agile leader, and anyone can take their role and take part in this transition process, and that is why a lot of companies are even creating this Agile community of practice where people like can join volunteering, and participate in these processes, even organize workshops or, knowledge sharing sessions, help each other, go and observe each other's work, provide feedbacks, get feedback, and so on and so forth. But actually, in a true Agile approach, all these three things are happening, because like the management, they are just taking this decision and then just bring it down to middle management, then creating this Agile community practice, and etc. So let's also see how the leaders should develop. And this is done among three dimensions. Okay. The first one is leading by example. The second one is mindset, to have the right mindset and principles, and based on really Agile manifesto. And the third one is leading the change. So leading by example, mindset and principles, and leading the change. if we know all of this, let's also just imagine like what the ideal agile organization is, to have this goal in front of us before doing any steps. So first of all, like purpose and values. So here, the organization is inspiring shared ambitions. Strategy, we have adaptive roadmaps. Again, as you see, we have roadmaps, as most of companies think that in Agile we do not do that, but that's a misconception. But the roadmaps are adaptive so that we can address the change that is coming from the market and from other sources. Leadership and culture of learning and engagement is highly recognized. Planning, budgeting, and reviewing. So here we have dynamic feedback loops, which is really important. We do planning, then we inspect, understand, like if we were right in our planning, and then we adjust accordingly. The same is with the budget. The same is with the reviewing of, let's say, the product increments or whatever. Structure and accountabilities. So we have bounded autonomy here. Talent engine, we have collaborative experts. So in any case, we have experts, but the true thing is that they constantly should collaborate. Business processes, balanced, harmonized activities, and technology and data to have modular architectures. Okay, then how to start the journey if we have all of this information? Many companies, there are a lot of case studies, and also based on our experience, you usually start with the transition project or product. So either it is a pilot or something that you think, does not have too many dependencies, and we might see the results like in a short time. Then this project this product might be a really good fit for starting working on it, starting like this agile transition project. Or another way of doing it, which is like more important, if you just start, like you just pick this agile transition and make it a project, and just to spread it over the whole organization and all of the departments. So let's say we have the executives on our Agile Leadership Team, and we have the project. So there should be like the initiative owner of this, someone who is the final decision maker, who will say like the final say, who will say the final say on the prioritization, like the product owner on a Scrum team, for example. Then why not having someone to take the role of the Scrum Master, whether this is the chief operating officer or someone from the team that might want to take this role. So someone who will be, observing the whole process and will be also guiding everyone towards the right directions and use the appropriate processes to do that. And the rest of the team members might be the sponsors. So, and then we will have the teams, the agile teams, that, the whole work that they do, the whole planning on the first level will be delegated to them. Okay, then of course we will have to have a plan. What do we want to do and how we are going to do that? And the next thing would be having a working agreement, which will be like the reflection of all our values and understanding of how we should work together as an agile leadership team. What are the things that we should stick to? And this is the same as, again, agile teams having their working agreements. And then we will be setting like product objectives and product outcomes. Okay, again, if the idea of transition is to focus on featured teams, on product-centric company, in that case, as I mentioned before, like in my previous presentation, from my experience, I see that it is much easier for everyone in the company if the objectives or if the outcomes are product outcomes rather than business. you know. So yeah, if you say like let's generate, you know, our business objective is to generate revenue, then on lower side, like on product team side, it's really hard for them to understand, like, how does this relate to their everyday activities? Like, what should they do to increase the revenue? They do not see all of the numbers and figures that, you know, are generated there. But if you say, let's say, you know, I don't know, let's say we just want, you know, we just want our users to stay longer in the system after the login, let's say for 20 minutes, just do it, you know, this is the outcome, the users to stay in the system like for 20 minutes, because we have already calculated that if the user is staying in the system for 20 minutes, then, you know, they will buy something. So let's imagine we are creating like product objectives and outcomes for this particular project. So how do we imagine this agile transition? What needs to be done? Okay. And then we are creating the epics and user stories based on that. You know, for example, we might want to focus on things like cost of delay. So for example, if we are not doing this initiative, like how much will it cost us if we delay for a week, for 2, for 3, and based on that to prioritize all our activities. So starting from the low-hanging fruits. And something like lead time, how much time does it take for us, you know, to start and end the initiative? And there might be a lot more. Then once we have like the whole picture of the objectives, then we might want to set objectives for each expertise, because the idea is that each type of expertise within the company would be serving the ultimate goal, which is like doing this agile transition, you know, like for example, digital transformation, whatever of our project. So for example, we might set like objectives for marketing based on our product objectives, you know, objectives for product, objectives for finance, HR, you know, technology. This should be kind of also a collaborative work. And then if we just go one level down, we might want also to ask like objectives and forecasts from the teams on their, let's say, sprint level, you know, and relate this on their everyday level and relate this to our objectives. And of course, let's imagine that we will be also working on within iterations, like 1 week cycle, 2 week cycle, whatever. And we are going to do daily syncs to make sure that we are on track, that our solutions are right, that they are helping us to move towards our goals. And this would be level 1, like the team, like individual team syncs. Then level 2, the leadership of these teams to sync. And then level 3, the leadership of teams plus the Agile Leadership Team to sync on understanding whether we are on the right track towards our objectives or not. Yeah, yes, Lisa, I read your comment. It's easy for people to overlook that cost of delay. Yes, I agree completely. Yeah. Oh, thank you very much for the comments. Yeah, thank you. And important fact here also is that, you know, the whole process should happen within collaboration. So if we need, you know, like swarming discussions where, you know, it's not just a discussion, but, you know, if we have like problems, then we try to, you know, have like problem solution types of conversations where at the end of each, you know, conversation, we have some action plans, because it's like, you know, outcome from our inspection. And everything, of course, should be again mapped with the agile values. So, you know, if we do an initiative, will it move us, you know, closer to the agile values or not? So there is also this Agile Leadership Teams manifesto. which is again very, very interesting one. Like it has the same like values which are stated in Agile Manifesto. But here, if we look from the leadership, Agile leadership perspective, again, we have individuals and interactions. So people first, then the processes and tools. But we also, want here to make sure that, we as people focus on what we are doing, why we are doing, and how we are going to do that, And also, as leaders, we want to empower our team so that they think and know that the solution is not in us as a leadership team members, but it's in them. They are the solution providers. So this is the empowerment, The second is the customer engagement, not rigid contracts. So here we talk about like taking feedback from customers and then adapting to the gained feedback. Working solutions, not excessive documentation. So again, the same thing. We are constantly talking about enough details in our user stories, enough good enough solutions, so to make sure that our teams can provide this, we are creating this safe environment for them as an Agile leadership team to protect them from impediments and to support them in breaking this complex problems into like more achievable goals and initiatives. And the last one is the flexibility, not concrete plans, as I mentioned, like for example, adaptive roadmaps, etc. So we are celebrating the learning here. So we plan something, we create something, but then we experiment and get learning from there, because we know that we are in a safe environment. We create this safe environment for our teams, and we allow them, to do experiments. If they have a hypothesis, then we provide them this environment where they can test their assumptions actually and hypotheses. And also we embrace prioritization, and whatever is considered as wasteful activity, like if it's not leading us towards our goal, then we are stopping this kind of activities. And there are also some critical behavior for Agile leaders, which are, first of all, authenticity, like how honest we are. So honesty, integrity, this kind of things are really important for the leader to be a leader. Then emotional intelligence, of course, to control your emotions, to drive this positive energy, to create this environment where people feel safe, and feel relaxed, and they can do and they can say whatever is on their mind. And then lifelong learning, of course, learning is not just stopping with, first step Agile adoption and then it's over, but you constantly have to learn, and this should be like part of your life. Growing others, okay? So it's not about you as an Agile leader, it's about others. So if you have a knowledge, make sure that this knowledge is passed to the others. If you see that there are potentials, or if you unleash these potentials within your teams, then make sure that these potentials are used. And then decentralized decision making. Again, this is a collaborative work, no man show. Again, Agile leaders should make sure that, other people around them also are able to make decisions. Okay, so let's see Agile leadership team working as an Agile team. So what happens if we do all of these steps and we follow all of the rules? Then people usually forget about their positions, whether they are C-level, heads, or whatever it is. So we are not focusing that much on, on org structure in terms of positions and job descriptions, but we are acting as actual team members who have alignment of actions and alignment of goals, and everybody is aligned with the agile values and principles. And they are creating transparent and visible workflow, so that everyone is on track, and they are delegating work. This is also a very important like characteristic of agile leader, not doing it yourself, but delegating it. Then thinking around the common goal, as we talked about, and of course, guiding, mentoring each other and employees. And one thing is also, self-evaluation, of course. This is really important, the self-observance, and, making like decisions based on decisions regarding your behavior, like your weak points, based on this observation. There is also working with intent. Okay, so we have this intent, what we are doing and why we are doing. And then on the other side, we have, the action, how we are doing it. Okay, so agile leaders usually they have this alignment of what and why they are doing, and they have the autonomy, and they can just provide to their teams the autonomy of how to do it. Just even on a simple Scrum team, when we say, for example, the product owner is, like presenting to the team, like what they are going to work on, they are crafting together the sprint goal, the whole Scrum team, etc. But then, the developers are actually, understanding how or defining how they are going to do that. That's the same here. So we are working in the same principles and values. And so align on intent, enable thinking, and empower action. These are the three things that needs to be kept when we are working with intent. Another really great quote from Robert Greenleaf, like creator of servant leadership term. So you cannot build community, much less earn trust, without acknowledging colleagues, expressing gratitude, and offering recognition. So the next part, we are going to talk about leading with agility. So using Agile doesn't change how a leader thinks, or doesn't influence the senior leader's mindset. Okay, this is very important. Though they may be remotely connected to Agile to validate the processes and co-steer the culture shift. Let's understand what is agility, to understand like how it can be used for the leaders. So actually, agility, the term, it was not connected to Agile like initially. It just means the flexibility of mind and body and everything, and in the organization, flexibility to speed up, to respond to the change that is happening. And this has been widely used in the military, when you have the enemies, and and everything is changing really fast, and you have to observe and understand like your enemies, like what they are doing. So you have to see the context, and based on that, you have to make your decisions, to do this or that action, and then observe the results, and then the cycle repeats again. So whether applied to organizations, teams, or individual leaders, it is the ability to take sustained, effective action amid conditions of accelerating change and mounting complexity. So in this case, uncertainty that is happening to us is becoming our comfort zone if we are if it is applied to a person or organization. And leadership agility is, if we link the agility to the leadership itself, it actually it consists of three arenas. if we combine it. 3 arenas, 4 competencies, and 5 levels. Okay, so of course, when we talk about arenas, we talk about conversations, communication. Okay, this is important because one-on-one conversations, you know, you can have like coaching sessions here or just one-on-one discussions. This is like first part where, you know, we should be focusing on. Then the team improvements, so collaborating with team, and then organizational change, then doing the change on the organizational level. When we talk about the competencies, we have the setting context and direction, where we mean that that how our initiatives are actually, you know, created, what they are based on, you know, how do we imagine that these initiatives will drive the change, for example. And then also, you know, setting the direction, which means like what is the, you know, depth of the purpose that we are following with this initiatives, how deep we can go into understanding what would be like the purpose, you know, of our initiatives. Then we have the understanding stakeholders. Of course, you know, here we might want to understand what are the initiatives or what is in the mind of our stakeholders, why do they do this or that step, and if there are any, you know, any conflicts or, you know, there are any different opinions there, then we might want to, you know, open this to a dialogue so that people can talk and, you know, come to a consensus. Then it's the creative problem solving. Here, or creative agility, let's say. Here, like how our solutions we test against, for example, different data that we are gathering or different perspectives that we hear. Are we able to do that or not? And also how deep we analyze, you know, problems actually, and are we able to, you know, connect these problems to already known issues within the organization. And the final level is like leadership self-improvement, which is again, of course, about, you know, like seeking feedback and developing new skills. So, and experimenting with new skills, you know, and experimenting with new behaviors. And then we have 5 levels, which are actually expert, achiever, catalyst, co-creator, and synergist. I'm going to address only 3 because the other 2 are rarely happening. Especially if you are a synergist, then usually these kind of people, they do not like to work in an organization because their social consciousness is on such a level that they just want to do social works and that's it. So that's why I'm going to focus on these 3. So the expert, yeah, by the way, before we start, so these 5 levels were actually defined by Bill Joyner and Stephen Josephs in 2006 when they published their book about like leadership agility, 5 levels of mastery. And so first level is the expert level, like concentrating on the solution of content problems. So they are people who have some expertise in this particular domain. And then when they see a problem, then they are using, you know, all their knowledge or their approaches, etc., to resolve this problem. And then, but what is missing is that they usually do not see a lot of things in context, or, you know, like long-term orientation is missing. So when you have, usually you pass these levels when something is not working, is not enough, you know. So when you feel like, you know, you are missing this orientation and things, then you are moving already to the next level, the achiever level, where you are striving to reach goals. You want to to see the context, but from the perspective or your own created value system. And when you feel that your value system is failing, then actually you are passing to the catalyst level, and which is kind of, they can connect and transform communication into relational energy. They are able to convey meaning to others, and they are able to see the big picture and to act and to use this communication to drive change. So leadership agility, if we just compare it also with agile, many people tell the leadership agility is a vertical, like vertical development. You expand your way of seeing the world and yourself, while agile is actually horizontal one, because you are increasing your skills, but you at the same time you stay at the same level of consciousness. So there is another thing that I want to address here is the balanced leadership. So usually, we are either working with two, with one or the other. So accommodate is the leadership style where like you are more patient, you listen more, you ask more questions, you are kind of caring. Here is the empathy, being humble and flexible. So this is the one type. And the other type is like more like assertive type, where you are more persistent, you follow the goals, you want like actions, you are confident in what you're saying, and you are focused, and you can be a charismatic leader, who is like leading by example, for example. And usually when we talk about like true leadership, it should be the mix of those two. So if you do not have any of the skills, you have to work on developing the balance. So and developing the balance is happening within 4 stages, like awareness. What is my dominant style? So that you observe yourself and understand who you are. Intention, find situations to practice non-dominant style. Being accommodative, patient, empathetic, listen more, and being assertive. State the goals, seek win-win situations, establish accountability. So it's all about, finding the situations where you can practice what you have not been doing yet, and then turn that into, part of your, like leadership behavior. So to do that, of course, it is really hard, like just, to start doing balanced leadership just like that. You might need, coaching, or if you want to develop in your agile leadership team, or anyone else this balanced leadership style, then again they might need coaching, or one-on-one trainings for developing these skills. Then there might be like specialized workshops, and then further training of management on this competitive advantages of leadership. And then at the end you will have the balanced leadership, a new and sustainable management understanding for your company. Also, while we are talking about this, also I want to talk about the Agile Leadership Compass. So we talked about, we talked about the levels, arenas, and competencies. And this actually these competencies are presented on this compass. So context setting agility, stakeholder agility, creative agility, and self-leadership agility. And this compass is a really powerful tool when you work with leaders, when as an agile coach, or you as a leader, work with other leaders, maybe if you want to help each other, to understand how the leaders give and receive feedback, how they make their decisions based on what, how do they make their initiatives, and also whether they develop themselves, whether they also question themselves whether they are doing a good job or not. And also there are a lot of other assessments that usually, like companies are using to evaluate their like Agile Leadership Team, and like the competencies that we talked about and much more. And one of these compasses is this one, where we have like vision strategy, leading execution, value delivered, and leadership behavior. So these domains you might want to assess to understand where the leader stands and what are the plans for future development. So that's why usually these kind of assessments are really good, where you want to put a status quo, like to fix that, okay, you are here. And then based on that, create an improvement plan for your Agile Leadership Team. For example, you are lacking, I don't know, something, you are lacking your vision and strategy, like you are not able to set, meaningful, to do meaningful initiatives there, or to make it to stick to the whole company, or to make it available for everyone to understand why we are here in this company, or anything else. So once you evaluate them, then you create the action plan of improvement. You might even want to link it to growth plans. And then you realize these health checks, let's say quarterly, or you can decide how often do you want to do. So the final thing that I want to say, I know the information was too much, but hopefully, everyone got something for himself or herself. The final thing that I want to say is like, anyone can be an Agile leader. And actually these tools and strategies that I was talking about are helping our organization outcomes. And in our VUCA world, actually Agile mindset and skills are what are needed from the Agile leaders and Agile Leadership Team. So we have to understand that as Agile leaders, that strong teams perform better than dominant individuals. That regular planning sessions will help us to realign and replan what we are doing and understand whether we are on track or not towards our goals. For example, setting objectives with measurable, metrics will help us to see and evaluate whether, where we are going and whether we are doing that right. And then enablement and empowerment of followers is really key factor for all transitional, Agile leaders. Short cycle communications help us to make the process transparent and to identify problems at its roots. Networking and information sharing help us also align our visions and share some knowledge and information. External perspectives to limit idea flows, because sometimes we might have a lot of ideas, but external perspectives, or a lot of initiatives, but external perspectives might show us that only one or two are really valuable to work on. Strong organizational vision is helping everyone to stay aligned. And the outside image, or the helicopter view, someone, as an Agile leader, or someone, outside of the organization should do this constant monitoring of what's going on, to make sure that we set the right expectations and boundaries. And as leaders, this is a very important skill, you know, to look here, then to look here, to look here again and again here. Then balancing structure and chaos, as we talked about a lot. And of course, you know, we have to be where the information is. So this is really, really important for the Agile leader, like in particular, and for the Agile leadership team in general. So that's it. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, I'm ready to answer. Okay, from taking control and attract followers towards giving control and create leaders. Exactly, very good comment. Yes, yes. We talk a lot about enablement and empowerment, but as you see, if the leaders and if the Agile leadership team acts the same way as they ask from their teams, then I want to assure you that the information flow and the behavior flow would be a lot different than what we have usually. And the teams will also feel that there is a leadership that is not just saying one thing and then doing another thing, but they believe in what they are saying and doing, and they do it, and they show it by example, and they lead the change. In that case, you know, the teams will also follow their leaders, and you know, this transition will be much smoother and will bring us to real, you know, like agility. Lisa, thank you very much for the comment.
Thank you very much, Anna. It was a brilliant presentation. I learned lots of things, and I'm going. I will take the Agile Leadership Compass.
Yes, it's a very good one, by the way. Yeah. And helpful.
So I will deep dive into this one to master
Perfect.
it.
Perfect.
So thank you again, and anyone, if you have any question, now is the time, as always. And if not, you have Anna's contact, so feel free to contact her. And we will see you in a couple of minutes with another topic. Then we will talk about software skills and how to a software craftsman's journey. So it's about quality, of course. It's about software craftsmanship with Ismail. And so it will be in 5 minutes. So thank you again very much, Anna.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a nice day or nice evening. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.